Meet Adin Ross.
Yo, nah, clip it, send it to me right now.
A relatively unknown content creator who skyrocketed to stardom on YouTube and Twitch, attracting millions of followers and amassing a fortune in the process. Never short on controversy, but always innovating content, Adin always had a clear mass market appeal to a specifically younger audience. However, the latest controversy threatens all of that, from a star continuing to rise to what can only be described as a major meltdown, threatening journalists, being banned from Twitch, streaming to his mostly underage audience, platforming literal Nazi propaganda, and all of this just months after meeting with the man he now calls his hero, Andrew Tate. The transformation from Adin Ross to a Tate clone is happening before our very eyes.
I wanted to find myself because I'm lost, and I wanted to find myself, and I feel like I wanted to find myself.
I offer you my services,
Stop
and as
fucking
usual,
yelling at me, dude.
you're
Seriously.
rude. Fly to Dubai. Fly to Dubai now. We'll talk.
I'm sorry, Andrew. You can't get mad at me, bro. It's hot. It's ridiculously hot, man. You have the AC at like 80 degrees Fahrenheit, bro. It's ridiculous.
Going back to the start, Adin was a content creator in the making all the way back in high school. The man was dedicated to the life. He would stream NBA 2K games, often playing for cash, skipped prom even to stream, and eventually evolved his content to involving other streamers and celebrities. One of his major blow-ups was talking to LeBron James on his stream. At its very core though, Adin's content could be described as hanging with the boys. He was doing things that a lot of young people would love to do, hanging out with rappers, famous people, and just having a good time. As soon as he got picked up with the algorithms and the eyeballs, there was no stopping the rise. It didn't take long before he was one of the biggest streamers on the planet. His stream went from 2019 averaging 1 to 200 viewers to 2021 with 10 to 20,000, and by mid-2021 he was hitting stream peaks of 250,000 concurrent live viewers with averages of 100,000 or more. This continued for the next 2 years, making him not only one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, but one of the most live broadcasts available on the entire internet.
Oh, shit! Do you want me to rub your nut sack? I think we should be fat. Can't say that word. They asked you a question. Stop, Snaggimo, stop! Stop, Snaggimo, don't do it.
Mom was a bitch.
Adin's content style, and of course his age, were always a factor in both his success and the roadblocks he faced along the way. Due to the nature of his content, he was sometimes banned on Twitch for things that were somewhat out of his own control. This is a knock against Twitch's rules and how they uphold their terms of service inconsistently in some cases, which they have been criticised heavily for in recent years. But given that he knew this was the system he was operating within, did very little to prevent it from happening further, this resulted in 7 total bans across his 3 years on the website. But Adin was young, saying or doing some silly things sometimes is entirely forgivable, and he was able to continue his ascendant career after each temporary ban. Towards the end, things even settled down and it looked like Adin might grow into the fame, becoming less controversial, and maybe even a good role model for his millions of young fans. Things, however, were gonna get real weird.
And I'm one of the greatest men on the face of the planet. So I know it works. I'm the product of it. Yeah, I've conquered the internet. The internet is mine, all of it. I took it all.
In late 2022, the entire of the internet was captivated by the overnight success of a single human being, Andrew Tate.
Bought my neighbor's house. I had to construct a specific area for the Bugatti. Anyway.
Tate, you can make an argument, is one of, if not the most controversial figures to appear on the internet ever, full stop. He went from being barely known to the most searched man on the planet, and his influence was unavoidable. It didn't matter where you were, what social media or news website you were interacting with, Andrew Tate was front and center. His name was on everyone's lips and fingertips. Everyone you spoke with had an opinion on him, and these opinions were almost always one of two extremes. There was a lot of ridicule, disgust, and even hate, which rivaled the praise, admiration, and love on the other end of the spectrum. Andrew Tate, to some, spoke of harmful ideology.
It's as if a single person or even a group of people could ruin a generation of anything. I thought, until I found out who Andrew Tate was, and that's what we're here to talk about today.
To others, a way of life that they coveted.
Andrew's your top G.
Bro, look at you
cigars. Who did you get that from? I gotta pull up you on Fresh and Fit. This nigga was sitting just like Andrew Tate was when he was on Fresh and Fit.
I've been
Had
on
his
Fresh and Fit
Cartier, had his Cartier sunglasses on, had his hands like this. Whenever the girls would talk, he would not look at them.
To some, he was spreading a hateful message that the world didn't need to hear, and to others, he was speaking truth that society had told them they were unable to speak. With such a polarizing figure rising to prominence, there were clear lines being drawn in the sand, and this was going to change discourse on the internet, potentially forever. This division amongst people was based on an ideology which can be boiled down and simplified to the blue pill versus the red pill, a commonly used metaphor that evolved from popular Hollywood hit The Matrix. You take the blue pill, you stay connected to the Matrix, believing whatever the system tells you. You take the red pill, you go down the rabbit hole and face the uncomfortable truth of the system. That is how the movie presents the concept and how it was later co-opted. Starting out originally as a political metaphor, usually heavy on conspiracy theories, and later evolved in use. In modern day, red pill is often used within the area of the internet referred to as the manosphere. Tate and people like him operate within that sphere, using red pill to describe their philosophy on life, the truth of their existence, so to speak. Depending on who within this movement you speak to, the parameters of what constitutes this truth will differ, but at the center of all of it, the belief is that women have changed to the point they are a problem. Dating is bad for men who are even oppressed by these changes. Of course, the original conspiracy theory aspect remains entrenched in the movement to go along with it, and the red pill widely spreads harmful messaging around things like vaccination and most established systems. By established systems, what I mean is the Matrix, because that analogy continues to run deep within this space.
The Matrix is trying to control your mind. They're very good at it. That's what they do to control all of us. You have to break the trap.
Do you want to escape from the Matrix?
Listen, I already did.
You haven't. You're very firmly inside because your soul is still controlled and you're still hedonistic.
This movement, the red pill, is often described as misogynistic, hateful, harmful, and many other negative descriptors.
Ah, you cheater, you cheating. It's bang out the machete, boom in her face, and then grip her up by the neck. Like, shut up, bitch!
While there are nuggets of truth sprinkled into some of the messaging, and a few good pieces of advice such as working out, trying to better your life with promotions, education, and moving up the ladder in all aspects, you don't need to take on the other problematic aspects of the movement to go along with that simple, common knowledge advice. Whatever pros can be gleaned from the movement are usually outweighed heavily by the negatives. Though of course it does stand to reason that there are some more reasonable people within the space who see it as a place for men to better themselves, but they are drowned out by the more popular narratives which come with the harmful rhetoric. The issue is, due to most of the current social structure, the internet, how easy it is to fall into an echo chamber, the depression and suicide rates of particularly young men, and the many other social issues, the Red Pill movement, and in particular what is seen as their golden god, Andrew Tate, has taken hold on the minds of tens, if not hundreds of millions of men. This is truer for younger men who don't have the experienced worldview to question certain harmful aspects and are more likely to be influenced, as well as some older men who have lived a life that has disappointed them. They're looking for something or anything except for themselves to blame for their complete mediocrity. So what does any of this have to do with Adin Ross? How does this impact his situation? Well, he, like many other young men, was taken in by Andrew Tate's messaging, which is certainly powerful. It's part of the traditional male fantasy after all. A man's man. The cars, the clothes, the money, the fighting, and the women. This took hold of Adin, and he saw in Tate a man who not only was to be followed, but emulated as closely as possible. Adin leveraged his connections and online clout to get in contact with Tate, which Tate of course facilitated, probably due to the size of Adin's audience and then being the perfect demographic for Tate's online multi-level marketing program called Hustlers University. A program that costs $50 a month to join a Discord server where teachers will train you in how to make money online, all of which is information you can find online with a simple Google search. The most lucrative aspect of Hustlers University, aside from Tate's multiple millions of dollars earned each month for little to no work, was of course promoting Hustlers University to other prospective buyers and earning a kickback on any sales made, not actually paying attention to the course material, which is what the price of admission was originally for. An actual stroke of genius on Tate's behalf, as when he was banned from social media platforms, his messaging not only didn't diminish, despite having no personal presence, but actually grew drastically. They could ban him as a man or as a business, but now his business had expanded. His brand was tens of thousands of smaller creators posting clips of him on every corner of the internet and being financially incentivized to do so. The more clicks they got, the more Hustlers University referrals they could sell, which made them continue to do it. This made it so there was no real way to stop the spread of his message, the spread of Hustlers University, and the influence of Andrew Tate himself.
The Matrix is weak now. You have an opportunity now to make more money than you've ever had in your entire life. Hustlers University, that's exactly what we're doing. It doesn't matter if you have $1 or $30 million like me. This is the only school online that's going to teach you exactly what to do to make sure you are not crushed along with the normies.
Eventually, within a few months of meeting online, Andrew Tate and Adin Ross met in person. Adin made content out of this, streaming with the top G himself to hundreds of thousands of viewers. They talked life, played chess, smoked cigars, ate at restaurants, and Adin was exposed to the intoxicating lifestyle of Tate, who is undoubtedly a charismatic figure.
Are you the best Adin you could possibly be?
Hell no.
Okay, so there you go. So you know what you need to do.
I know what I need to do.
But you're not going to do it because you don't really want to do it.
I will do when I'm ready to do it.
It didn't take long after this for Adin to start emulating Tate's behaviour, his look, and of course his talking points. No longer were there consequences to actions, there was only cancel culture for speaking truth. There weren't rules that were being broken, there was only the Matrix fighting back against him for trying to break out. They were after him for speaking the truth that the agents didn't want his audience to hear. Adin's time on mainstream platforms that are policed purely by corporate need for acceptable monetization and advertiser guidelines was now running out. The more in Tate's footsteps he followed, the faster the sand in the hourglass would fall. Eventually Twitch, and perhaps even YouTube, were going to notice how big of a brand risk he had become, and more importantly, how damaging to their advertising partners his messaging really was. At that point, he would undoubtedly be deplatformed. This is the fact and truth of moderation on websites like Twitch, which was his predominantly active platform. That is, until now. Enter Kick.com.
The newest live streaming competitor that is in part guided by Trainwrecks TV and might be a little bit suspicious. It does seem, however, that the most used category on the website is slot streams. Specifically, the slot streams that are no longer allowed on Twitch of Stake.com.
Kick is a streaming website that spawned almost entirely due to Twitch's decision to ban slots and gambling from their platform. Twitch made that decision for a few reasons, one of which being the incredible backlash from their community, the other being the brand risk it represents to potential advertisers, which is the same reason they do most things, of course. Another big factor being having websites like Stake, a platform that uses cryptocurrency to gamble and showing creators winning and losing millions of dollars each spin to an audience of mostly young adults and children, was a mainstream headline and political nightmare waiting to happen. The second mainstream press caught wind of Twitch allowing this on their mostly accessible to kids website, the scrutiny would be incredible. As a result of this ban, popular Twitch streamer and #1 poster boy for said gambling, Trainwrecks, decided he would be starting his own streaming website. For context, Train was paid millions of dollars monthly to promote Stake, and is almost certainly dealing with a debilitating gambling addiction, making this ban not only an attack on his revenue, but his ability to constantly feed that addiction. This was the circumstances that spawned Kick, a website that fundamentally, from an economic perspective, makes no sense, until of course you examine it is owned and operated by the CEO of Stake. Essentially, from what I can tell, it seems to serve as a funnel between the creators that they've paid millions, maybe even tens of millions of dollars in exclusivity contracts to bring their audience over to Kick, where they can be exposed to the gambling website. In my mind, with their lack of advertisers backing the website and their 95% to creator, 5% to website revenue split on subscriptions, it's the only possible way for the site to make financial sense. This isn't charity. After all, if you know anything about streaming, Twitch doesn't make a profit, and they take 50-50, have a lot of advertisers, and even subsidize the cost of their gargantuan server bills due to the fact they're owned by Amazon, who own Amazon Web Services. Mixer couldn't even make a profit, and they're Microsoft, who own Microsoft Azure, one of the most powerful networking solutions in the world. Now, how does this all relate to Adin? Well, by the time Kick became available, his time on Twitch was basically up. Of his own making, of course. He started to tweet things that he previously would not have done. He started to say things he previously would not have said. And this only got worse, progressively. A short while before everything came tumbling down, Adin made a video claiming that Twitch were trying to silence him, that for this reason, he would need to explore options.
And then once I was streaming and doing what I normally do is, you know, I say some real shit sometimes. I basically got a call. He basically said, hey man, if you keep doing controversial stuff and you keep saying certain things and you keep basically promoting certain things on your stream, we're gonna have to take you down indefinitely. So my team and I, we've been thinking of some workarounds. We've been thinking of like stuff that we can do to basically block this off and basically move past us. And we got some stuff in the works.
Which is when he went over to Kick to do some test streaming. The plan, which Trainwreck's already set in motion for himself, would be to stream 1 hour on Twitch, get his audience active and engaged, and then direct them over to Kick, where he'd finish the rest of the stream, hopefully transferring over the people who wanted to continue watching. Doing this for a few weeks or months would eventually mean that hopefully most of his audience would log on Kick to see him live, instead of just being on Twitch. Unfortunately, Adin's idea that because he was on Kick he could do or say whatever he wanted and Twitch wouldn't care was completely incorrect. Adin decided to purposefully open pornography on his stream, showing the main page of the explicit site to his young audience, letting it sit there, asking his fans what they wanted to watch. Kick warned him that he needed to stop, that this was against their rules, though of course they didn't ban him as they were currently courting him for a massive exclusivity deal for the platform. Twitch, however, saw the issue of having this man associated with their website, likely knew he was only going to get worse from there, and cut ties. They issued Adin with his 8th and this time permanent ban. Luckily for him, he did finalise the contract with Kick prior to this. Had they waited a couple more days, they probably could have saved the massive, which they're claiming biggest streaming deal in history, and got him for free. This man very almost ruined a massive multi-million-dollar deal because he wanted to open a porn website on his stream. As soon as Adin was on Kick, things started to progress downhill fairly rapidly. He was watching Nazi propaganda videos featuring heavy anti-Semitism, incredibly racist videos, trying to trick people into saying the N-word against their will, and doing what he admittedly says is torturing his audience for fun.
What did you say?
Okay, you're gonna pull the blanket off her, pour it all on her face, listen. And then they're gonna be like, wake up, bitch! And you're gonna grab the bag and go, smack, smack, smack.
He then started making threatening tweets to Twitter gossip accounts like Jake Lucky, who had posted about some of his prior transgressions in recent days, and constantly talking about how many genders there really are, making this point in almost every tweet, as if totally obsessed with it despite it never being relevant to any of the conversations he was trying to participate in. This of course goes almost 180 in the face of his previous behaviour prior to meeting Andrew Tate. Adin used to commit a sizable portion of his income to LGBT charities for multiple years, an act that promotes inclusivity and acceptance, but now seems to be working against it. It seems like Adin is out of control, even out of the control of Trainwrecks and Kick, who told him explicitly that he cannot stream copyrighted content, which didn't stop him as he proceeded to stream the Super Bowl. Kick signed Adin because of his reach to an audience they wanted to gather on the website, and that has paid off. He frequently sees close to 100,000 concurrent viewers on the incredibly small, by comparison to Twitch, website. But they've also signed someone who seems to be in a tailspin, who seems like a massive liability. Though if my theory about what they're doing to monetize the website is true, they're probably not going to care. For Adin, it seems like he's intent on continuing down this path, and he's doing so with a mostly young, impressionable audience. It's not out the realms of possibility in my mind that what Adin refers to as the Matrix might start paying attention to some of the things he's doing and that Kick is allowing on their website. If they're not careful to rein him in and enforce their terms of service properly, it could be a problem. Though for now, it seems Kick is content to be the Wild West of the streaming world, as that is a big selling point compared to the admittedly ridiculous other end of the spectrum with Twitch's inconsistencies and corporate red tape. And Adin is not the first person this has happened to. There are multiple big creators that have gone down this same path, all to follow Andrew Tate, many of which have been literally disowned by their family, including Sneeko. For Adin Ross, a person claiming to be his half-brother came on Twitter to talk about how after Adin met Andrew Tate, his whole personality changed, how he was previously incredibly close with his family, but essentially strained their relationship to the point of ruin. Adin of course claims that this is not his brother. Whether or not it's true can't be confirmed. What can be confirmed is that the Adin Ross who grew to be one of the biggest live broadcasters on the planet is a very different Adin Ross than exists today. He has traded a slightly controversial and potential brand risk personality with a bright future for a roll of the dice that Kick remains open and popular. He's literally put all his eggs in Kik's basket, and his reputation on the line for a man currently in jail for sex trafficking. He's traded the potential of mainstream long-term appeal and infinite growth for the Red Pill manosphere audience. It will be interesting, of course, to see what happens and where he goes from here, but judging from the last few weeks of behaviour, it'll likely be a downfall video on Sonny V2's channel within a year or two, unless he figures it out, and figures it out real fast. So that's how Adin Ross went from a kid streaming basketball games to one of the biggest live broadcasters on the planet to an Andrew Tate clone, shaving his head, smoking cigars, giving terrible advice to young men, claiming the Matrix is after him, but hopefully not for trafficking any women in Romania, allegedly.